Parshas Toldot, 5778. Our subject today is prayer. Is tefillah. Is tefillah a response to misfortune, or is misfortune a impetus? Is misfortune a method Hashem uses to bring us to prayer? You know the answer to that one. It's the second one. Okay? We're going to think about prayer today, and I hope we can clearly make a distinction between a Tzaddik and a Rasha, someone, and the fact that both of them somehow end up praying. Even the Rasha very often prays at crucial moments when suddenly, there's nowhere to turn. There's no atheist in a foxhole, right? What distinguishes a tzaddik from a rasha? So there's a perfect lead-in to ask that and to understand prayer of both. And that is right in the beginning of our parsha. Okay? It's, you see it in your notes? One of the first psukim in our parsha about Yitzchak and Rivka. And that is the fact that the pasuk that tells us that they are davening. Okay? They're davening because Rivka is barren. You will see, look at number 2 on the notes, every single one of our avos and imos except Jacob were barren. Avram was barren. Hashem did a miracle. Sarah was barren. Yitzchak was barren. And Rivka was barren. And Rachel was barren. And Leah, who it doesn't seem like it's barren, you have to look carefully, it says that because she didn't have the love of her husband, therefore Hashem opened her womb. Okay? So this idea that they're all barren is something we're going to talk about, because as we just established, misfortune is not, prayer is not a response to misfortune. Misfortune is in order to bring us to prayer. Okay? And that's exactly what we're going to see is the explanation of this pasuk. So look at the pasuk. V'yetar, and we'll explain that word. Yitzchak laHashem lenochach ishto ki akarahi. He v'yetar. It's a strange word. It doesn't really mean he pleaded. We'll see what it means in a minute. In regards to his wife, because she was barren, v'yetar lo Hashem v'tahar Rivka ishto. And Hashem allowed himself to respond to Yitzchak's plea, and she conceived. So this is the famous pasuk of Yitzchak and Rivka davening, and Rashi. I didn't even include the Rashi here, but there's a famous one that Hashem listens to the tefillah of a tzaddik ben tzaddik before a tzaddik ben rasha. We'll get to that. What's the difference between the tefillah of a tzaddik and a tefillah of a rasha, and a tzaddik ben tzaddik and a tzaddik ben rasha? What's the difference here? But before we do it, we're going to see that man praying, a person turning in prayer because of misfortune, which is exactly what's supposed to happen when there's misfortune, is the most natural thing in the world. Okay? It is more natural for a person to pray than for a woman to have a child. Look at, this is from Moshe Shapiro here, look at the word Adam in a column. If you spell out the Aleph, the Dalid, and the Mem fully, what do the inner letters of the word Adam spell? Mispalel.
Very good.
Okay? Meaning that the essence of a human being is prayer. It's the most natural thing in the world, and it defines a human being, the capacity to pray. Why? How is this built into man? So first you see the following. Rav Yitzchak says, for what reason were our forefathers, and he mentions forefathers, not just the mothers. The mothers, it clearly states were barren, but the men were too. For what reason were our forefathers initially infertile? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu mis'aveh l'tfilatan shel tzadikin. HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires ta'ava, he has a yearning, a desire for the prayers of the righteous, and he therefore wanted them to pray for children. Okay, now why then, Rabbi Yitzchak says, are the prayers of the righteous, of the tzaddikim, compared to a pitchfork? That is the root of the word vayetar, atar. a pitchfork, something that turns things over. And why does it say here, and Hashem let himself be, in a sense, turned over, like a pitchfork, right, flips things? This indicates that just as this pitchfork turns over produce from one place to another, so the prayer of the righteous turns over the attributes of the Holy One, blessed be He, from the attribute of agitation, or rogez is the Hebrew word, rogez, being upset, being agitated, to the attribute of rachmanut, from rogez to rachmanut. What is this talking about? Okay? And as we saw in number 2, everybody, as we said, were barren. So what is davening? As we said before, that davening is inherent. It's more inherent to the nature of a person than nature itself. What we consider natural, a woman giving birth, a natural process, that sometimes is in place, and sometimes Hashem withholds it. But there's never a case, ever, 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 where proper tefillah is answered, and Hashem does not accept it, and the natural cycle does not kick in once a prayer is offered. What is the natural cycle? Okay? What is that? So, it's compared, rain and prayer always are compared to each other in understanding prayer and the prayer of a tzaddik and the prayer of a rasha. So here is the source of the concept of the prayer of man, that man prays. Okay, this is from Bereshis, and it says, this is in chapter 2 already, and it's telling you in a different way. It's not, chapter 1 and chapter 2 are different descriptions of creation, and it's telling you something about the place of man in creation. And it says, V'kol siach hasadeh, all the shrubs of the field, terim yeh, before they would be on the earth, terim yeh ba'aretz, V'chol Esav hasadeh terim yitzmach, and all the grasses of the field before they sprouted. Okay, there's a state where nothing yet, it's like everything was ready to go, like beneath the surface, the entire physical world, all the trees, all the vegetation, everything. But Hashem did not press the go button yet. It was all just there. Right, like a brown world, not a green lush world with flowers and trees and everything growing. Everything just beneath the ground, not even grass. Why not? Ki lo himtir Hashem Elokim al haaretz. Because Hashem had not caused it to rain upon the earth. Why? Va'adam ayin lavodas hadama. There was no man to till the soil, to work the earth. Here is the famous, famous idea. Lavod et ha'adama, to work the earth. What is avoda? What is the essential work of man? We're taught it's tefillah. If you look at the Rashi, okay, God had not caused it to rain, and there was therefore no one, because there was no man. In other words, there was no one to recognize the utility of rain. When Adam was created, however, and he realized that it was necessary for the world, he prayed for it and it fell, so that the trees and everything, right, sprang forth. In other words, the world needed a person to pray for rain in order for rain to fall. But that's a beautiful idea, that Hashem didn't make the world sprout, he didn't press the go button, because man is the one who basically engages the entire system. Man prays, the prayers reach the heavens, they condense, so to speak, in the heaven, the prayers, and they come back down here to us as the shefa, as rain. It's very nice, beautiful. Man recognizes their relationship to Hashem. But what then do you do with the next pasuk? What do you do with the next pasuk? Okay, in the next 2 psukim. The next pasuk says, Ve'ed yala min haaretz. There was a mist, a flow of moisture, of mist, arising, welling up from the earth itself. Ve'hishka et kol pnei hadama, and it saturated and gave water to the entire face of the earth. And vayitzer Hashem Elokim es ha'adam, and from that earth, that moistened earth that was saturated with water, Hashem formed man. So what do you need rain for? Do you see the problem? There was no lack of moisture. There was no lack of that which could water the earth. What are we talking about here? Okay, this is a fundamental idea. Okay, from Rav Uriel Etam, was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Hezer Yeshiva in Yerucham, in Israel. So he explains the following. You know that we talk about this all the time. This is Perek Aleph and Perek Beis of Bereshis. This is the first luchos, and the second luchos, this is Golus and Geula. This is the idea. Man is, okay, we'll go back to our basics. What is man? Truly and absolutely, in the ultimate, in the truest sense, what are we? And we've talked about this. Are we really separate entities, physical entities living in our own physical world, and then relating to a God who's over there, who's the big boss man in the sky, and that God controls everything and knows everything, and we can ask God for what we need down here, and sometimes God, if we're good, Hashem lets us have it, and if He's not, He withholds it. And it's an elaborate game of let's make a deal, and let's see how we can keep God giving us what we need. Okay, is that it? No, of course that's not it. And why would Hashem create a world? So say, okay, surprise, you're all in my world. Here's the rules. If you obey all these laws, I'm going to give you what you need to survive. But if you don't, I'm going to take it away and you're going to be miserable. Have fun, good luck. Like, what is this? Why would Hashem need that? So we've described many, many times a more Kabbalistic view. It's not, it's a very prevalent view. It's a true view, which is, of course, that there's nothing but Hashem, and we are included as part of Hashem's existence. Now, the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha is how much they know that. A tzaddik knows that really this physical existence of ours is somewhat artificial. It's not really real because, as we talked about many times here, we're not even really physical, correct? What are we really? Yeah, we're made out of energy, right? We talked about that. We are humans. We have matter. Matter's made out of essentially atoms, and atoms have energy. In other words, the science is busy with how does energy take on mass and become matter and become self-aware of us. How does that happen? Anyway, we're really not so physical. So we get that. And you know why we get that? And we mentioned this last week. Because we get that from Har Sinai. There is a mitzvah, remember this? That you have to remember what happened at Har Sinai. It's a mitzvah midoraisa. Now what does that mean? It's actually a machlokas between Rambam and Ramban. But if you say it means you have to remember the mitzvahs that Hashem gave you at Har Sinai, that's a little problem because, of course, if Hashem gave us mitzvahs, you have to keep the mitzvahs. And you have to know the mitzvahs. It's not a separate mitzvah to remember that you have mitzvahs. So Ramban and Rambam discuss it. The idea of the Rambam is that you have to remember the experience of Har Sinai, which is essentially that when we experienced, when it became so clear and self-evident to us that there's nothing, ein od milvado, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we are just Hashem's will that experiences ourselves as some kind of physical creation, we realized we don't have a separate existence. We totally saw, felt, and it was deeply ingrained into our psyche. And the Torah says they heard Anochi, which doesn't necessarily mean they heard words Anochi Hashem Lekech. In fact, Rambam says they saw in absolute clarity that everything in existence is Hashem's will. And Rambam says that Moshe then said to them, the words that describe what you just experienced are Anochi Hashem Lekech. Okay? Now, when that happened, Parcha Nishmasam, remember that? Our souls just left us. Which means we understood we don't really have a separate existence. Then Hashem said, no, I'm putting your neshamas back in you. I'm hiding a little bit. Vayal, Hashem went up, doesn't mean literally, out of our consciousness, out of our perception. I want you to live as physical creatures. Now the question is why? And it's not for a game. It's not to test us. You're here to see if you'll follow the mitzvahs and realize that you're really not physical. It's like Hashem, Hashem gave you a Yetzer Hara to test you. What's the point? Like, why? Hashem says, I want you to live in a physical world because it will be eventually, and we can either play part of this role or not play part of this role. Eventually, everything in existence will reveal and express itself as part of Hashem's existence. Everything will. All of nature will. humanity will, human nature will, history will, biology will, anatomy and physiology will, every molecular, chemistry, everything will express that we are an expression of Hashem's will. And it's going to come through the physical world, which is an expression of me, part of my existence. So Hashem says, I want that to happen. You can either facilitate it or get in the way of it, but it will happen because, as we said last week, it's in the DNA. That is the program. Nature itself, all of existence will express it. Okay? Now, a tzaddik, now the Jewish people, and the righteous among the Jewish people, okay, are deeply aware. This is what makes the Jewish people unique, and if somebody becomes a Jew, they become part of this. We know that our physical existence here is artificial. It's not really absolutely true. It's a way, it is another method for Hashem to express His onlyness through everything. And there's a beautiful link here that you can go to see, like one of those endless videos that show how nature and creation is an expression of spiritual truths. Now, we get that. So therefore, we live with an understanding that we're really, that there's more to us than our physical existence, and we are essentially part of something eternal, and our body and our thought process and our human, everything will express that and can express that. And we know we're not alone, and we know that all the mitzvahs and the positive and the negative are all here to teach us how to be an expression of that. Now, a Rasha is also completely, Haman and all the other horrible ones, I don't even want to mention their names here in this shul. They are also part of Hashem's existence completely because there is nothing other than that. It's not like there's another option. The only difference is they don't know it, and they refuse to know it, let's say. Absolutely refuse to know it. And try to destroy everything that gives that message, that is teaching that message. And therefore to them, they are here, as we know, alone, and essentially their agenda is their survival, their power, their strength, survival of the fittest, and all of life is an endless frenzy of securing my existence here as my own entity, and it devolves into all the dictators and everything and survival of the fittest and all the other cruelty that comes from it and the brutality and the torture and everything that comes from it. One knows and one doesn't know. That's the essential difference. Now, what happens is, here we get back to the psukim in Bereshis. When Hashem, these two psukim, what do they represent? This is Perek Beis, okay? Perek Aleph and Perek Beis are telling us there's two ways man can exist. Ideal man, Perek Aleph man, Tselem Elokim man, the man, we're making out of ourselves. The person we are giving birth to out of ourselves, we, the Tselem Elokim, we are creating out of ourselves, is a creature that knows and expresses and sees all things else and everything else in the world as expressing our connection, our existence as part of Hashem's existence. That is the ultimate truth. That is actually the pasuk, the second pasuk. A mist, mayim chayim, is coming up from the ground and saturating everything, bringing everything into existence, and from that man is created. In other words, it is possible to live and derive all your life force, eternal, spiritual life force, from this world. From this world, from the world itself, that is an expression of Hashem. That is in an ideal state, where this world teaches, expresses, drives, and enlightens a person and helps them understand that they are an expression of Hashem. Okay, that's ideally what it should be. And there were moments in history where that was clear, like the splitting of the sea. This world and everything that happens here expresses the real truths. And we're part of it. And we're created from that. It's in us. It comes from us. Now, however, that ideal state is not a state that we actually are designed to live in and sustain. That state is a state that we have to build and give birth to through a process. The process is, as we know, that Hashem hides a little bit, And in the case of Bereshis, what happened, and this is built into the system, sometimes we actually we increase the fact that we can't see Hashem by our own choices, by becoming so subjective, just looking at this world for what it is that as our five senses interpret it, and this is the world, and we forget that it's just a mirror of something else, and we think it's real in and of itself, and then we forget, we lose sight of the fact that we are an expression of Hashem, and then we get caught up in the physical, and then Hashem withholds something physical so that we're forced to pray, and that brings us to remembering who we really are, and that we're really an expression of Hashem's will, and everything comes from Hashem, and without Hashem bestowing upon us and enveloping us and giving us, we wouldn't have anything, we wouldn't have the things we need. So when we drift away, that's when we need prayer. Now that Uri Tam says that this pasuk, that there was no rain until man prayed, is representing a state of man disconnected from the existence of total awareness, post-sin, post-disconnection, now needing to turn to God, which is in a, like beyond, like, in a different sphere, dimension, and asking Hashem to come and, in a sense, restore that flow to us. It's looking at Hashem, asking for the rain, for our spiritual sustenance from outside. When really, in the ideal state, it's all part of us and it's here. You don't need to get it from beyond. That's phase 2. Okay. Interestingly enough, we mentioned this on Sukkot, which when you sit in a sukkah, you're like existing where everything here in this world is an expression of Hashem. Right? You're in the sukkah, which represents the ultimate, the Mishkan, the Shechina all around us. The 4 minim, the lulav, the esrog, the das, and rabbis, which you can get in Israel in Sukkot time, which means it's the end of the summer. It hasn't rained in 6 months. How are these things growing? How are these things thriving? Where are you getting all this stuff from? They're thriving from the lower waters, from the waters of this world. And you don't ask for rain. Remember, you don't ask for rain. It's a bad sign if it rains. After Sukkot, when, in a sense, we go back to the normal life of the human being, then, and our sense of more, inevitable disconnection, sense of, back to naturally viewing this world as a reality, and then we have to start praying for the rain, okay? So, what we're seeing here is that tefillah is a measure that Hashem draws out of us in order to restore the clarity of our vision. So prayer is not a response to misfortune. Misfortune or Hashem withholding things that are natural is in order to get us to pray so we don't get lost in this world and start taking it seriously as if it's absolutely, the only, that this physical existence it is only what it is. Yes.
I just wanted to share because I was listening to a shir by the Shmooze, Ben Zion Schaefer.
Yeah.
And he said something I just thought I'd share it. He said that he was he read a book by, the Harvard professor Dershowitz.
Yeah.
So Dershowitz asked his Harvard students, the most brilliant people on earth, how they would rate God. So they rated God as a B-. So they said, because, there are some good things.
Right.
There's like very
exactly.
nice.
So this is a beautiful, thank you, Leah, because this is a good lead-in to look at the next thing here. Look at the way, she didn't put it in Hebrew. Look at the way, very good, and listen what we're going to do. So thank you. It's perfect lead-in to what I'm about to do. Look at our bracha, Borei Nefashos. Okay, what does Borei Nefashos mean? It's number 5, even though she didn't put it in the Hebrew. And everything we just said is in number 4. Na Borei Nefashos Rabos. You create life, nefesh, all life, meaning human, animal, molecular, chemical life, okay? And in that, everything. What are the next words? V'chesronan al ma shebarata. And the chisaron, what is missing, is across the board. In everything you created, everything has something missing that it needs. Why? Lahachayot behem nefesh kol chai. In order for you to sustain it. Right? Melechei ha'olamim, the king of all the worlds. Now, it specifically says, Hashem created everything in existence and made us that we need stuff. There's stuff we're missing. Every atom is seeking 8 electrons, correct? 8 is a magical, mystical number. 8. Shleimus of all. From the atomic level and up, we all are missing something. Okay? Now, ideally there will be a state, and the Nevi'im speak about it. Yeshayahu speaks about it. Everybody speaks about it. Umala kol ha'aretz deya es Hashem. It doesn't just mean all people will cognitively and intellectually understand Hashem. It means everything on earth will know itself, will have a das. Das always means integrated, totally integrated knowledge, that it's me. It's not just something I know, it's me, when the knower and the knowledge are one. Everything will know that there's only one Hashem. Mala kol ha'aretz de'es Hashem. So, because nature will express it itself. There's so many. See, if we had a smart board and the whole thing, we could watch videos how you see mystical truths expressed through mathematics, through, did anyone see, for example, one of those beautiful videos where it takes different fruits and vegetables, and by their color and their design, they literally look like organs in the body, and they have the nutrients of those organs, that kind of thing, all right? Remember the kesher tefillin idea, right? The tefillin that knot back here, and the nerves that cross right under there, which tells us that in the upper spheres, what's right might look like left down here, and what's left might look like right down here, and how a person chas v'shalom has a bleed or hemorrhage, or what we call it a stroke, in one side, they're paralyzed on the other side. The same idea, what's up there might be, the way you're seeing things down here might not be how things really look up there. Don't get distracted by how you see things. If we would judge by what we saw, we would have given up after the Holocaust. We say, this proves Hashem has rejected us. But we don't see things like that. So, the idea here is that prayer is in order to restore this. Now, all the avos and the imahos, okay, were Hashem withheld from them what is natural in order to set them up to be role models for us, that the response is prayer. Okay? Now, when a tzaddik prays, okay? A tzaddik is praying, and what makes a person a tzaddik? By the way, what does tzaddik even mean? Remember? Tzedek. What is tzedek? Hin tzedek, even tzedek. Weights and measures. And torts, and right?
What are you more?
No, careful. Weights and measures. What's an even tzedek? It's halachic, huh? When you have a scale, back in the olden days, and somebody says, I want 1 pound or liter of garinim, okay? So you put, in the old, right, you put a stone that's exactly not a liter, a kilo. You put a stone that's exactly, let's say, a kilo, precisely, and you measure out enough garinim until it's even. So even tzedek it's precise, it's always the same, it's predictable, it's consistent, it's always exactly what it is. That is tzedek. A tzaddik stays consistent. A Rasha, we learned this also. First parak in Tehillim, where it talks about the Rasha. If you look in different mefarshim there, you will see that they explain. A few of them say it. The Even Ezra says it, and Radak brings it down. That a Rasha from the word laharshia, to be in a state of chaos or turmoil, lurching from this to this, like the ocean's waves are marshia, meaning they're never consistent. They're here and they're there, and they respond to what the triggers of the moment. And we know it says rashayim malayim charata. They're always having charata, regret. Why? Because the Rasha is really, we call a Rasha a bad guy, like an evil person, which really the truth is it's not the right name. We should call a Sone an enemy, right? Or an Oyev, a foe. But a Rasha is really technically a person that keeps going back and forth between moments of feeling this is the real world and I'm all alone here and I got to do whatever I got to do to secure my survival, and I'm being triggered by the emotion of the moment. And then moments of, oh, I get it, I'm really connected to Hashem, I'm really, this is, it's not so, this world is not the only place, not the only world, I know what, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and they just can't go forward too much because they keep coming, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps backwards, 1 step forward. That's their inconsistency, not keeping it in mind. So the prayer of a tzaddik is someone who says, this misfortune is befalling me to get me even deeper and closer and more clarity about my existence here. The Rasha says, oh my goodness, something I need is in jeopardy. I don't have it. Please, God, I'll do this mitzvah if you just give it to me. Okay? They pray, but it's prayer like, what do you need me to do so I could get this, so I could have what I need? It's not a sense of we exist as part of your existence. Now, Am Yisrael, we said at Har Sinai, when our neshamas left us, that was it. That changed our psyche. That changed everything. We know that this physical existence is somewhat artificial, and Hashem let us experience it because this somehow, some way, the physical world is going to express Hashem. And we're going to either help that happen, or it's going to happen despite us or because of us, even if we don't want it to, like Haman, okay? But it will happen. Everything that will happen will express it. Now, and therefore the Jewish people are possessed, and there's a song here at the end of the notes, you should go listen to it, but don't watch the video, but listen to it, by a Jewish woman, Alicia Beth Moore, who is actually known as Pink, a very popular modern singer. But the thing is, we know it, she's Jewish, we know, okay, deeply that this life is somewhat artificial, okay? So we're always like, why are we here? Why are we here? And if we don't have the answer, if we're not praying and we don't have the answer, by the way, we are praying, but the prayer is, why are we here? Why are we in this physical world? What are we supposed to do here? What is there more that I can't get my hands on? Why do I feel so lost? What am I supposed to do with my physical existence? And unfortunately, the tragedy and the misery is they don't have an answer of what this is all supposed to be about, but they do pray. And this song is a desperate plea. If you hear the music with it, it's desperation. And that's why we get it, and we're so possessed with this question. Now, the nations of the world, absolutely the 6 mitzvahs, they must know there's Hashem. There is no way, anything other than one Hashem is intolerable, and they're not allowed to think like that. Okay, they have to know there's only one Hashem. And they have to never, ever, ever disgrace or in any way belittle Hashem. That's the mitzvah of what we call blessing Hashem, but it means the opposite. And they have to have absolutely fair and just court systems, because everybody is created by Hashem as part of Hashem the same way. And they can't kill and steal and commit adultery. And added to that, the 7th mitzvah, which was added by Noah, animal rights, okay? No destroying animals, no pulling animals apart. They are also part of Hashem's existence. Now, the difference between the not Jewish people and the Jewish people is historically, we experience something that embedded into our psyche that this life is kind of artificial. And they, as non-Jews, did not back then, okay? And the role of the Jewish people is to take that awareness and share it. Now, we don't expect them to keep, we don't demand, the Torah doesn't demand they keep 613 mitzvahs, because you only have to keep the mitzvahs because the mitzvahs are are directions to how to keep this awareness alive in every second and everything we do. We keep the awareness alive that we are really part of something much greater. But if that's not in your psyche, but you still know there's a God and you must obey God and God takes care of you and God provides for you and there's no one else to pray to, which they must all come to understand and should understand, then you still live a moral, ethical life. You still relate to Hashem. but there's still not that persistent, intense sense of this isn't real, this isn't so real, okay? And therefore, the 613 mitzvahs are making that reality, constant in our day-to-day life, every day, all day. So, the 613 mitzvahs are someone who understands that, and the 7 mitzvahs are for everybody. And of course, it's our responsibility to address the growing. And as we get closer to Mashiach, and the Nevi'im say that the world, all the nations of the world, are going to go in this direction, searching, and eventually Mashiach, who essentially is a teacher, is going to start teaching and enlightening everyone. And they're going to come streaming to Yerushalayim, and they're going to say, please teach us more about this. And as we come to the end of days, the search is going to intensify. And today it is extremely, extremely intense, okay? And if you look, I even put a quote in here from Henry David Thoreau. It speaks for itself. The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. What is called resignation is confirmed desperation. From the desperate city, you go into the desperate country and have to console yourself with the bravery of minks and muskrats. You know what that is? Furs and weapons, wealth and power. A stereotyped but unconscious despair is concealed even under what are called the games and amusements of mankind. And he wasn't a Jew. Hello. This is growing. There is no play in them, for this comes after work, but is characteristic of wisdom. But is a character's wisdom not to do desperate things. I'll add one thing, and then I'm going to introduce Tzili, who I'm so happy is here. The word tefillah has as its root, one of the roots in it is patil, a thread. The word Naphtali, when Rachel names her child, she says that I was entwined. I was entwined with my sister, in a sense. The psil is a thread. I was entwined with my sister for the sake of God. Prayer, I'm not going to dwell on this now but prayer is entwining ourselves, becoming totally entwined. And our identity is entwined. Now, in that as a lead-in, Baruch Hashem, we here in this group, and I want to thank everybody, have had a very big part in supporting Kesher Yehudi. It is Tzili's here I'd like to call her up to be with us this week. And I have an idea, a practical idea I want to suggest. This week, or this month really, we are trying to help Kesher Yehudi, as we always do here in our group and in the 5 towns, to grow even greater. Kesher Yehudi has had incredible, unprecedented success. Starting from Tzili sitting in my living room 5 or 6 years ago with her idea, we now have this woman from Eshter with 11 children, is the winner of the Israel Unity Prize, in which the state of Israel understood that everybody is searching, everybody is looking for something that they're missing, and the religious and the non-religious together, and they're finding something in reuniting with each other. And this organization has grown tremendously. The numbers are 45 women, 45 people already working for Tzili, 45 employees, 16,000 chavrusas, and the most important thing is there's a pre-military academy program, which is just for the sake of English and quick, and then the pre-military academy program. Tzili started with one, which means the future officer corps of the Army. They have this year to the elite. They go into the pre-military academies. It's a special opportunity for the elite graduates. They are the future leadership. Tzili started with one. Now there's 13. She brings busloads every month of religious Haredi men and women to these secular mechinot to learn together, to have chavrus with each other, to remain friends, to encourage and strengthen. Both of them are protecting Eretz Yisrael, Torah learning, and the army. Every chavrusa has commit the religious ones for 3 years. There's an equality between them, meaning that it's not a one-way street. It's two brothers and sisters finding each other, and what we're really looking for. Tzili will tell you every one of the Haredi recruits, so to speak, is She is committed to participating fully, going to the Army graduation ceremony, the celebrations of their accomplishments in the Army, connecting with them all through their years in the Army. This is not a short-term process. The government is so impressed with this. They awarded her the prize. And now the big news is that the government has told Sealy that there are 13 that she already has and another 28. Next year, the State of Israel is committing that all the rest of the 28 pre-military academies will have a Kesher program in them. Wow. So we are in the present. I would like to, before Sealy's going to inspire you for the moment, I would like to, there's something I suggested. Sealy, this is a growing organization. It needs money. I have an idea. I wrote a beautiful email which we're going to send to all of you. It's an email you're going to send to your family and friends. It says, about Kesher. It says, I have promised, thank you, I've committed to try to raise $2,000. Please help me. If every one of you could send it to your family and friends, to ask them to help you try to raise $2,000. It's not such a crazy amount. There's a link, there's pictures, there's a link to the website. It's easy peasy. You click on the link, boom. Whatever we can, however, no one's being charged for whatever money beyond 2,000 they don't raise, okay? But you'll try to help Sealy raise the money by spreading this around through emails and maybe little messages to your friends and family. That would be a huge mitzvah, and I'm so proud to participate in Kesher, and it's a big zechus, a big zechus.
Okay, thank you very much, Esther, and everyone. I'm sorry again about my English. Maybe you remember. And thank you, Javi. Thank you, all my friends. And I'm very, very excited to stay here again and again, because I feel, you have to know, Esther, now she said you have to take care of $2,000, but she took care of $200,000, and it has to come from us, okay? So it's only money. Money is nothing, but this money make the big revolution in Eretz Israel, the big movement, like to be one. She said a lot of, I heard 2 or 3 shiurim this week with Esther. She spoke a lot of to be apart from Hashem, to be one with Hashem, right? To feel that we are one. We can't feel that we are one with Hashem if we are not one between us. It's before it, you understand? We have to be one between us, between all of us, all of the Jewish people. Then we can feel that we are one with Hashem, one with the Torah, right? So this is the first step. So everyone knows, in Eretz Israel, we have to be one to be strong. We have such a big problem. We can't add of our problem another problem to be like 2 nations. And I'm very, very Haredi. I grew up very Haredi house in Mea Shearim. But I don't like the word Haredi because I don't feel it. I feel I'm Jewish. And when I see another Jew, I don't care if he look like this, if he look like this, if he go to the army, if he very, very big to the other side, like Shomer Shabbat and Shomer Kashrut, who cares? They are Jewish, and we have to feel brothers and sisters. And when I told it, 7 years ago, to Esther, everyone thought I'm crazy. I want to make revolution and to put everyone to feel we are one. And now, after 7 years, we can say we did it. The mind of the Haredi community changed. The mentality changed. Okay? And also the Chilonim, total Chilonim, they also changed. 7 years ago, they said, what I have to speak with him? I don't have any conversation with him. I don't know him. He's not my circle. Now it's changed. People want to know more each about Kol Echad Al Hasheni, and people more respect each the other side. Yeah, you keep Shabbat, it's also for me. Because without Shabbat, אנחנו מאבדים את עם ישראל. You go to the army, it's for me. Without the army, we don't have Eretz Israel, Chas v'Shalom. So I feel in the air, the atmosphere change slowly. And the biggest thing was that the government gave us, Esther and me, got the Unity Prize from the President Nir Barkat and Ruby Rivlin and Benny Gantz, the Ramatkal,
Head of the army.
the head of the army, gave us, and the three mothers, Racheli Frankel and Ifrach and Shire, gave us the Unity Prize because they understood that unity it's mean to make all the extreme to feel one. So the biggest thing now is in the Mechinot Gdam Tzvaiyot, the pre-military academy. זה גודל, תעזרי לי, זה גודל משנה לשנה, and I have to tell you the truth. You have to help me to make it because I can't. I'm really only one, even with me, with Eshter, we are two. We need all of you to help us to make it a fact and to make it big and to make it stable. This very, very important organization. You know, when I see the bus with the Yeshiva Bochem going to the Machaneh, the camp of the army, to sit with them and to learn Chavruta together, you know, no tears to אין מספיק דמעות בשביל להראות לכם מה אנחנו מרגישים. זה כמו ימות המשיח. וגר זאב עם כבש. And they are coming to our neighborhood. We take a lot of neighborhood, every neighborhood, from neighborhood, adapt one mechina, one group. Every group is 55, 56 boys and girls. Every one neighborhood adapt one mechina. And when the boys and the girls, the not from, total not from, come to our neighborhood, to Ramot Daled, the Haredi neighborhood, to Geula, to Ramat Eshkol, when they are coming, and all of the Haredi fight to have them for Shabbat, everyone call me. Oh, I put myself, I put my name on the list, and you didn't call me back. I also want to host 2 boys or 2 girls for this Shabbat. It's, you know, it's happened. It's become a fact. They love each other, they like each other, and they want to respect and to appreciate and to be close to each other. Everyone wants to be close today. So it's very, very strong a movement, very strong revolution. I have here, I put it, it's 1 year ago, איך אומרים? לפני שנה. זה קצת אינפורמציה על המכינה. תגידי להם שיפתחו בעמוד האחרון, יש רימון. רימון, אוקיי? סיפור על רימון. אתם יכולים שם לחלק.
Okay, everybody just take a look at the Mechina thing. If you are not
in this, I want to tell you one thing. In this page, there is a story of a boy named Rimon.
Oh.
I got the phone call from him. So I want you to give attention to this story.
Which one is this? This?
No, Rimon, this.
Rimon. Oh. I will quickly read it to you. If you're not tech savvy to do the email thing, let me know. But if you can, I would just really, whatever you can do. It's just, Rimon began learning with the Chavrusa while he attended the Sderot pre-military Mechina. He joined the army and he requested to go on active duty in a tank battalion. As an only child, this required special parental authorization. His mother insisted that before she signs the document, Rimon goes to the grave of the holy rabbi of Zvil in Jerusalem and asks for him to intervene and guarantee the boy's protection. Rimon asked his Chavrusa from Keshudi to accompany him on the trip, to which the Chavrusa Yaakov readily agreed. After davening at the grave, they took a bus to the Malcha Mall to enjoy a cup of coffee together before the 1 o'clock appointment at the IDF draft board offices. Let's use this time to learn some Torah, which is the best protection, Yaakov suggested. The men entered the empty shul in the mall and proceeded to learn together. I want to take on myself to learn Torah in this same spot, a place that almost never resounds with Torah learning, every time I am in Jerusalem, Rimon said. 2 short weeks later, Rimon was on the Gaza front in Operation Tzuk Eitan. I knew in my heart that I had special protection. I knew that the Torah was with me. Rimon is adamant that this was why he got home safely, and he voices his intention to keep his promise. זה לא הסיפור. This is not the right story. I know the story. The story is that this Chavrusa that Rimon had, you tell the story.
Okay, so the story what I want to tell you is not this. I'm sorry, my English. When Rimon got to the Gaza, he was into the Gaza, and they gave him a break for 4 hours, all the Chayalim, like to take a shower, like, you know, plastic shower outside from the Mechutz LaGvul, and it was 4 hours to sit with the parents, with the sisters, with, you know, and Rimon called me, and he said to me, can you please find me Yaakov, my Chavrusa, because I want to spend my 4 hours break with him. So he said, no, I can't because he doesn't answer the phone. He's in the koilel. He's a koilel man, he's a vrech. So he said, please do me a favor, I need him. And I find him. I find the Rosh Koilel and I find the Avrech and I send him by a taxi with the Rosh Koilel told him, you have to go to him. And they sat together 4 hours near the Gaza and all the soldiers come to see this. And everyone said, the parents come, Rimon parents come to the break and the sister come and everyone said, Rimon said to everyone, Mommy, Daddy, I love you, but please give me these hours to sit and learn with my Chavrusa because we know everyone that this is more important for everyone. And all the soldiers come to sit with them and learn together. And I'm telling you, everyone cried because it was like something we feel that we are one with Hashem, with the soldiers, with the Torah together in the more dangerous situation. We have something strong to feel one with it. So this was the story, and from this, Baruch Hashem, more and more mechinot, and the government wants me to adapt all of the mechinot for the next year. So it's unbelievable. You have to know it's unbelievable. It changed all the education in the mechinot. They are coming to the army. They're going to give 3 years from the life, or maybe the life. Maybe they will be patsua. Maybe they will, and sometimes they don't know even why. They don't know even why, for what, for why we have to fight, why we're fighting for, why we have to go there, why we can't go to Canada and to marry with non-Jewish girl and that's it, and forget about Sephiroth, right? Why we have to fight all our life. So this year with Kesher Yehudi together, make them meaningful, mashma'ut for all the fighting, for all the army, for all the tzionit, for all the identity, okay? So, what we want to ask you, please open your phone and Esther, send them on the phone the link.
They will get
and everyone will try to take care of 2,000 from her friends, sisters, brothers, wherever she can do, and to tell Esther that you make it, and Esther, we can sleep.
We have a big party. And
Esther
I
can
appreciate we're going to send the email, so it's a beautiful email, pictures and the whole spiel. It's very nice. Thank you for being a part of it. And it really is a chus to have a part of it. It's really our privilege, Sue. It's our privilege.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have a wonderful Shabbos.